Let's be honest for a second. We have all been there. It's 2 a.m. You're hunched over your desk, your eyes are burning, and you're surrounded by a graveyard of empty coffee cups. You've been staring at the same page of your textbook for what feels like hours. You are highlighting everything in sight, turning the page into a neon yellow abstract painting. You feel like you are working incredibly hard. You feel like a martyr for your GPA. But then, the exam comes 2 days later, and you sit there, staring at a question, realizing that the information you spent all night absorbing has completely vanished. It's gone. Why does this happen? It happens because we have been sold a lie. The lie is that academic success is a linear equation. The more hours you put in, the better your grades will be. We treat learning like an endurance sport, believing that whoever suffers the most wins. But the science of learning and the experience of top students at places like Cambridge University tells a completely different story. The problem isn't that you aren't working hard enough. The problem is that most of what you call studying is actually just pseudo-work. It's activity that feels productive, it feels like work, but it produces almost zero retention in the brain. So if you want to stop the burnout and start actually learning, we need to tear down your old habits and rebuild them from the ground up. Part 1. The comfort trap. First, we have to look at the low-utility habits. These are the things we do because they are comfortable, not because they are effective. The biggest culprit here is rereading. This is the most common study method on the planet, and it is also one of the worst. Here is why. When you read a chapter for the third or fourth time, you experience something called the fluency illusion. Because you've seen the words before, your brain says, "Oh, I recognize this, I know this." But recognizing a sentence is not the same as understanding a concept. You are tricking yourself into feeling competent when really you're just familiar with the text. Then there is the highlighting trap. It feels so good to highlight, doesn't it? It feels like you're doing something. But cognitively speaking, highlighting is a passive activity. It requires almost zero brain power. You are essentially doing an arts and crafts project. If your brain isn't sweating, you aren't learning. And finally, we have summarizing. Now, taking notes can be good, but most people just transcribe. They look at the textbook, copy a sentence, and write it in their notebook. That is data entry, not studying. You're practicing your handwriting or your typing speed, but the information is bypassing your brain entirely. Part 2. The shift to active recall. So, if passive review is the enemy, what is the solution? The solution is the single most important concept in learning science: active recall. Think of your brain like a muscle. If you go to the gym and watch someone else lift weights, you aren't going to get stronger. You have to lift the heavy bar yourself. You have to feel the resistance. Traditional studying is like watching someone else lift the weights. You are trying to shove information into your brain. Active recall flips the script. It's about practicing pulling information out of your brain. Here is why this works. The learning happens in the struggle. When you close your eyes and try desperately to remember a fact, and you feel that mental strain, that friction, that is the moment the neural pathway is being built. That is the testing effect. So how do you actually do this tonight? Start with the closed book method. Read a page, then literally close the book, hide it. Take a blank sheet of paper and write down everything you can remember. It will be hard. You will forget things. You might feel stupid. That's okay. That frustration is the signal that you are upgrading your memory. Or try the Feynman technique. Imagine you have to explain the concept to a 6-year-old. If you find yourself using big jargon words or stumbling over the logic, that is a red flag. It means you don't actually understand it yet. You've identified a gap. Go back, relearn it, and try to explain it simply again. Don't write notes. Write questions. Instead of writing, "The mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell," write, "What is the function of the mitochondria?" Future. You will thank you when you use those questions to test yourself later. Part 3. Beating the forgetting curve. Now, let's say you master a concept today. That's great, but there is another enemy waiting for you: the forgetting curve. In the late 19th century, a psychologist named Hermann Ebbinghaus discovered a depressing truth. Humans are designed to forget. In fact, if you don't review what you learned today, you will likely forget about 50% of it by tomorrow morning. By next week, it's basically gone. This is why cramming fails. You are trying to fill a leaky bucket. The fix is spaced repetition. This is the art of reviewing information right at the moment you are about to forget it. It's about timing. If you interrupt the forgetting process, you reset the clock. And every time you reset the clock, the memory stays stronger for longer. Here is the ideal timeline used by medical students and polyglots. Review the material 24 hours after you first learn it. This stops that initial 50% drop-off. Review it again 3 days later. Review it again 1 week later. And finally, 1 month later. If you do this, you don't need to spend hours studying. You just need 5 minutes of review at the right time. The information moves from your short-term memory, which is like a post-it note, to your long-term memory, which is like carving it into stone. You don't even have to track this manually. Use apps like Anki or Quizlet. They use algorithms to handle the scheduling for you. They will show you the cards you are bad at more often and the ones you know less often. It's efficiency at its finest. Part 4. Deep focus and the environment. Okay, we have the technique, active recall, and the schedule, spaced repetition. But none of this matters if you can't focus. We live in an economy of distraction. You cannot learn complex physics or history if you are checking Instagram every 6 minutes. Multitasking is a myth. What you are actually doing is context switching, and every time you switch from your book to your phone, your IQ effectively drops. You need deep focus, and the best way to get there is the Pomodoro technique. It's simple. Set a timer for 25 minutes. For those 25 minutes, you do nothing but study. No phone. No snacks, no bathroom breaks. You work with intensity. When the timer dings, you stop. Even if you're mid-sentence, you take a 5-minute break to walk around, stretch, or grab water. This rhythm keeps your brain fresh. It prevents that zombie mode you get after 3 hours of staring at a screen. And here is the golden rule. During those 25 minutes, your phone shouldn't just be face down. It should be in another room. Research shows that the mere presence of a smartphone on your desk reduces your cognitive capacity. Put it away. Protect your attention. Part 5. The transformation. So, let's look at the difference. The traditional student, let's call him hardworking Harry, reads his textbook for 6 hours straight. He highlights everything. He feels exhausted but proud. He crams the night before the test, stressed out of his mind. He passes the test, maybe, but 2 weeks later, he remembers nothing. The evidence-based student, let's call her Smart Sarah, studies for 3 hours, not 6. She uses Pomodoro sprints to stay fresh. She doesn't reread, she tests herself. She struggles a bit. It feels harder in the moment, but she knows that's part of the process. She reviews her flashcards on the bus using spaced repetition. When the exam comes, she isn't stressed because she hasn't just seen the information. She has retrieved it 10 times already. She owns that knowledge. Conclusion. Here is the bottom line. The shift from working hard to working smart isn't just about grades. It's about reclaiming your life. It's about freeing up time to see your friends, to sleep, to enjoy your hobbies, all while learning better. But it requires a psychological shift. You have to be willing to be uncomfortable. Rereading is safe. Active recall is scary. It exposes what you don't know, but that exposure is the only way to grow. So, here is my challenge to you. Do not just listen to this and nod your head. Take action. Tonight, pick one subject. Do not open the textbook and just read. Read a section, close the book, and force yourself to write down the 3 most important points from memory. Just 3. It will take 5 minutes. It will feel difficult, but that small friction is the spark that lights the fire of real learning. Make the choice to stop busy working and start brain building. You have the tools now. The rest is up to you.